Hi, it's Pastor Andy, and for our Wednesday video today, I want to talk about the fact that Paul really discusses the entirety of the body. Now, throughout Romans, Paul has used the idea of the body in multiple places. In Romans, and the mind for that matter. In Romans 1:28, for instance, he talks about the eye being debased or being depraved, which really means that it doesn't mean that somebody can't be smart or anything. It just means that their mind does not have the same quality, and that specifically means a quality towards God in some way. In Romans 7:23 and 25, he talks about the mind being controlled by the flesh, and we can also find that a parallel to that in Romans 8:5-7. In Romans 6, Paul talks about the members of the body, meaning the fingers and the toes and the arms and the legs and everything, being slaves to sin or being used for the purposes of God. And you can find that in Romans 6:12 and 13. Now, as he transitions to the application portion of this letter, as we see here in Romans chapter 12, Paul mentions the body in 12:1, and he mentions the mind in 12:2. Paul does this to show that it is in the entire self that Paul wants. We are to sacrifice our bodies to God, but we are to let God change, that is, renew our minds. Now, if Paul had not included both the body and the mind, then in our world of loopholes, many people would have claimed that, well, we only need to do one or the other. We only need to submit our bodies, not our mind, or, what we think is important, but not what we do. But it is important for us to yield both to God. Now, separating the body and the mind was a very, very common argument in Paul's day, and it didn't originate in Paul's day. It originated with Plato and this dualistic perspective of the mind being separate from the body. But Paul did include both the body and the mind, thereby negating the argument in his day, and by doing so, negating any argument that might be made in our day as well. So why is it important for us to sacrifice both our body and our mind? Well, think about the Great Commandment for a moment. How can we possibly fulfill the Great Commandment unless we have given our body to God and given our mind to God? Remember, we are to love the Lord with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. Mark 12:30. Now, while these words may not represent literal body parts, the essence of Jesus' words are that we are to love God with our body, our heart included, with our mind, which is included, and in the spirit, and with our spirit, which might be considered the soul of sorts. So, therefore, Paul's command to offer our body as sacrifices and our mind to be transformed fits very well with the command of Jesus. If we give of ourselves to God, we show Him love, just as He demonstrated His love for us by sacrificing Jesus on our behalf, Romans 5:8. The truth is that we cannot give ourselves to God in body without the cooperation of our mind. And the mind cannot be fully devoted to God unless our body is active in following God and in what He has commanded us to do. This truth becomes evident in the final part of verse 2 when Paul says that once we have sacrificed ourselves and once we have begun the renewal process in our minds, then we can test, or a good word for that would be we can examine the will of God. And as we examine God's will, we will discover more about Him, certainly, but we will also discover more about ourselves. And we will discover the need for further renewal of the mind and further subjection of the body to follow Him even more intently than ever. Again, it's impossible to separate the body from the mind, metaphysically and physically for that matter. God gave them both to us, and as God has made clear, God desires that we consecrate both of those back to Him. But He does give us the choice. So the question today is, will you choose to give back to God both your body and your mind in thanksgiving for all that He has given to you.